I guess, Rob, I'll start with you because, well, like I said, you're top left corner. What is giving everyone the most angst as we are a month before the start of the school year?
So in my household, obviously, I teach at one district. My children go to another district, and then my wife teaches at a third district. With all of the districts having different types of reopening plans and closure procedures or whatever they're going to come up with as we go forward through the school year, I think that is what has brought the most angst in my household, is just the fact that the unknown of what will happen once we do open and how we will be able to handle childcare and the idea of distance learning our own children if we are in the buildings and they are actually at home. So that's kind of one of those things I think is brought about the most sort of, anxious moments in our household.
So for you, it's more so kind of what's going on in your own house as opposed to the halls of the school.
Yeah, I'm fine with what the school district has put out. I'm fine with going back to school. If they told me I was going 3 days on, 3 days off, or if I was going every day for 7 days, it doesn't really concern me that much. What concerns me is whether or not my 5-year-old will have somebody watching over him if he has to distance learn at home. So.
Anyone want to go next? Just kind of what you guys are feeling that is making you most nervous, month out?
I'll go. No, go ahead, Megan.
No, go ahead.
I'm a little nervous about bringing home diseases to the family. I have someone at home that's at risk. So, I know, I understand we're going to have best practices. I'm lucky enough that I have a large classroom, so I feel like I could space my students out enough. I also have a sink, even though I'm a Spanish teacher, so we can actually use soap and water to wash our hands. But yeah, I'm have to say I'm a little apprehensive about that. I just, and I also need to instill, my own kids are going back to school 2 days a week and then distance learning from home. And I know my son is just disgusting unless I'm standing over him, telling him to wash his hands constantly. So I'm a little scared. My kids want to go back. I kind of want to go back too, but I'm a little apprehensive.
Megan, you were going next.
Okay. I certainly have a little bit of the same. I teach in one district and my kids' district has a different plan. So trying to get all of that figured out for a preschooler and a 5th grader. But I think for me personally, the thing that's giving me the most heartburn is all of the logistics that have to be worked out in order for any of these plans to actually come to fruition. I am a type A personality, as a lot of teachers are, and I like to know well in advance exactly what this is going to look like. And I mean, in reality, I'm logical enough to know that the school district somewhat can't know exactly what it's going to look like, but there's also so much that's still unknown, and we are 1 month away from being back as teachers. And I haven't seen my classroom. I had couches and chairs and all kinds of comfortable seating. They might have gotten rid of all of that and never told me. So there's a lot of just the logistics of how to spread my room out, how to do all of the safety precautions that they are asking for.
Coach, you want to go?
I think that, as teachers, we have to look at it from 2 different perspectives. I listen to Megan and Rob and Kerry, and it's like you look at it from the teacher perspective, but then you look at it from the parent perspective. And we're in a unique situation where we have to do that, where as the typical parent looks at it from one perspective. So you look at Rob's approach and he's saying, I got a job, but I'm worried about my 5-year-old. You look at Kerry, who has a different situation with her family. So I think from the teacher perspective, I think we all, no matter where you teach, seem to be, I think the main concern is it's almost as if it's the fear of the unknown. You know, it's like, okay, you have all this in place and that's great, but here's the coach in me. You got a plan A, but do you got a plan B, C, or D? And this invisible beast that we're dealing with, we don't know how to attack the B, C, or D. And then back to what Megan was saying, you also got to look at what, you know, the layers of it. And I had this conversation the other day. You think you have one thing in place, but then there's going to be layers that pop up that we haven't discussed. Mm-hmm. You know, I think one of the things is you talk about transportation to school. So how many people are going to allow their kids to ride the bus? Okay, we've set that in place. Now, how many of you plan on transporting to school? So let's say in our district, at our high school, we have about 1,000 kids. Let's just say 60% say, I'm gonna drop my kid off.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
So the next layer is all that traffic coming down Elmerton, getting into the building. Yeah, it might take 3 or 4 seconds to get out the car, or maybe 10 seconds, but add that up to 60% of the people. Mm-hmm. So again, not that I'm, you know, I'm just, you know, just layers. And I'm sure there's many other layers that the district has thought about. So from that point, I think it's to fear the unknown. But then back to what Kerry said, I think as teachers, when we get in our rooms, we know how we want our room to function. I don't think any teacher will have a problem making their room function, you know, in that aspect, and putting themselves in the best possible situation to be safe. You know, and I think that teachers, we all, even before March 15th last year, I could tell everybody on the screen, the majority of us had already were taking that procedure. We were wiping our desks down every day. We were making sure kids weren't, well, we had 80 million boxes of tissues and wipes. So when we can control our environment, I think that is what we as teachers do. And that's what I think is we say we can handle that. It's just all the other layers that is going to be concerning as we move forward.
Has anyone been able to get back into the school to kind of see their classroom and how this is all going to be set up?
No.
I think that's across the board everywhere. I don't think, I know buildings are open for, you know, office hours and things like that for people to come in, but I don't think anybody's been in the building for, you know, a large amount of time and stuff. And I know even when we were asked to leave, we had to do it in groups of 10 in those pieces. So again, you go to another layer. So how do we schedule that with 60, 70 teachers and time frame to get rooms all situated? So again, you got to get we have to get a plan going for that.
Do you guys know when?
I'm sorry.
Do you guys know when you'll be able to get back in?
They haven't said anything as of yet, but our contract states that we're allowed to go in 2 weeks prior to the start of the school year. So that's the first week in August. And so unless we hear otherwise, we will go under that assumption. But with the governor's mandate of no more than 25 indoors, I don't know how this is going to play out with that guideline, because as Joe said, we have 67, 70 teachers. And when you throw in the students, how is that going to play into what he has in place right now?
Well,
I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, it's kind of funny when you had these conversations, and within your conversations, there's layers. So Elena says the mandate right now is, you know, 25 people at a time. But on the flip side of that, we're talking about bringing the whole school back in. Yeah. In a 2 weeks difference. And that's no fault by anybody. It's just trying to make it work. So if the mandate is this, but yet we want to get back to school, you know, it's kind of, if I'm using it correct, kind of oxymoron.
I think that's one of my biggest question marks, is just why mandates apply to certain situations or businesses or building types and not to others. You know, when even to the point of telling businesses, if you can work from home, you must. Like, that was the language. If you can, you must. And technically, we can work from home. So Or, you can't have more than 25% of your capacity, or no more than 25. Even if you go with the outdoor number of 250, a school is still well over that number. So it seems like we have one set of rules that certain places are following, and then schools are sort of all out on their own, and each district in their own.
And
I don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kerry.
Designed for social distancing. Like, we were designed to pack as many kids in as possible, as kind of, the traditional design of a school. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that are going to happen so that, we can keep our kids safe, but it's not the design of the school, and we can't rebuild a school. So we're just going to have to be creative as usual.
I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, which is why I'm going to ask this. Is everyone looking forward to getting back to school and seeing kids?
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was out there, because I mean, you hear that a lot, and it makes all the sense in the world, but every other year isn't like this year, and some of the angst and anxiety that might come with it. Miss Charles, and I apologize, it's natural for me to say Miss Charles and everyone else's first name because,
Bad Charles.
there you go. Actually, technically, she was never my teacher.
I know, never was your teacher, but Christine Rose Brooks still calls me Mrs. Charles when we're swimming. So
There you go. I don't want to leave you out. What in terms of what is giving you the most angst or anxiety before the start of the year?
Obviously, I'm a little older since I was your teacher, Matt. So the fear of the unknown, for me, it's more along the lines of, if I get this virus, how is it going to affect me? Will I be exhausting my sick days? What happens if I exhaust my sick days? How will I survive financially if that happens? And one good thing I will say about our district is, at the high school, we all pull together. If there's someone that needs something, we have a sick bank leave. I know we have things in place, but it's that fear of the unknown. And, I'm confident in our district making decisions, but as Megan said, you have 501 school districts in Pennsylvania, and each district is coming up with their own plan. And to me, that is disorganization. Somebody needs to come up with a plan. We shouldn't have 501 plans. We should have one plan that takes into consideration the best practices for educating our children as best we can. I love this analogy that one of my former ADs gave me. You take a funnel, the parents are looking in that funnel one direction, but schools, teachers, administrators, we're looking at the small end of the funnel to everyone, and parents are looking in the bigger end of the funnel only on their kid. So we have to go and look at the best way we can meet the needs of all of our children safely, and our staff and support systems that we have in place for all of our students. So I think someone needs to come down and say, it has to be this way. I don't want to get this virus. I'm trying to take care of myself so I can get to retirement. And that's my biggest fear. Like, I can control my classroom. I've been cleaning my classroom to meet my standards for a very long time. I have no problem continuing to do that, as long as I can get my hand on Clorox and bleach.
So one of the things that sort of disappointed me coming out of this is the fact that Pennsylvania Department of Education could have put together 6-8 plans, varying levels of infrastructure and complexities of school districts, and then been able to tell the school districts, hey, we just need you to be able to pick from these plans and make small modifications if necessary. Like this idea, like Elena said, about the fact that we have all of these plans being rolled out, I think that that's just sort of ludicrous.
And there's I really would like to convey this to those at PDE. There is no shame in saying, hey, we have been lax in making a decision. That's growth. When you admit that you've you've done something that wasn't the best for everyone. That's a sign of maturity. And the responsible thing would be to make a decision after consideration, because these are unprecedented times, as we continue to say, hey, listen, we've talked, we've heard, we think that this is the best way to attack this so that our children do not miss out. So
I'm sorry.
So if we could convey that to PDE, the governor, let's move forward in a way that's beneficial to everyone.
Do you feel like that Department of Education sort of passed the buck on this one? Is that the sense that I'm getting from hearing where some of you guys are coming from?
I read that plan. Did everyone read the plan with the 7?
Some of it made no sense, and it's almost as if you've never been in a classroom.
Yeah.
Some of the suggestions were just impossible in reality, I feel like.
Right. And we're down to the wire, so I think we need a modification in the plan. Let's get some coaching skills in there, and then let's attack B, C, D, and E, because right now, the numbers are alarming, but again, we don't have a math teacher here, and you know how statistics can be skewed. So
Science uses statistics too. Thank you very much.
okay, thank you. So I mean, when you look at the numbers, yes, if you don't think about those numbers and put them into perspective, I'm not saying that I'm a nervous Nelly, and I'm not saying that I don't believe that this pandemic exists. I just wonder who to believe. Who do we trust? Who do we believe? And the best thing I saw today, this morning, was you got to go with your gut. And my gut is telling me I think that we have to look out for our health and safety, but we have to do what's best for the mental health of our children. And that's what's alarming right now, is this is going to have detrimental effects in the long run. And our children are already suffering mentally with all of the things that they're dealing with. So we've got to put our heads together and come up with something.
I think as far as PDE and the state are concerned, and this goes back to the unknown conversation, I have this fear that each district is going to get farther and further down the rabbit hole of their individual plan, and in the 11th hour, the plug is going to be pulled, and PDE is going to say, no, you can't go back, or we want everybody to do this, or whatever the case may be. It's going to be changed at the last minute. And the reality of how much time it takes to do a 180 of a curriculum setup is only really understood by teachers. I don't even think administrators fully understand what it means to completely rearrange how you tackle teaching all students of all levels, differentiating. It is a logistical nightmare. And so if we are spending hours and hours preparing for one scenario, and then that rug gets pulled out from under us, I know it's going to send lots of us into a slight panic. More than a slight panic. Yeah, your wife. You can come sit on my desk for a while. But like,
I just want to say that you have teachers that are working right now, and
all summer long.
This is not on the clock, Matt. These are teachers that are working for free right now. And we're not in this job because of the money. We're in this job to take it seriously and give our students a better future. So when we look at PDE for guidance, we are looking at them to help us better manage our free time to prepare to do our jobs in the fall.
I want to go back to something that you touched on a while ago, and it's just kind of the overarching question. What happens if teachers get sick?
Good question.
Are there substitutes?
Are there enough
We
substitutes?
barely get substitutes now.
Right.
There weren't enough substitutes before the pandemic.
Right.
And I know the district realizes that and sees that as a big issue. Like, I realize that our administration knows that, but
In previous years, what we've done is we've absorbed classes, we've combined classes, and there you can't combine classes. What are we going to do? Take them to the stadium and spread them out with one teacher as the proctor,
And what a waste of educational time. Like,
right.
Well, let's face it, when we're sick, it's a waste of educational time as it is.
It is.
I mean, there is no one running our classrooms the way that they need to be run for there to be a real educational purpose behind it, unless you get lucky and have somebody who is, certified in your area and has a good working relationship with you. We have a couple of those that run through the building, but again, like 25 kids are sitting in my classroom expecting me to show up. Now I can't show up. There is no substitute. What do we do with them? I didn't understand exactly what you're saying, Matt. It's going to be interesting.
And if that's for 14-day stretches, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that is, so to me, that's why being on a digital platform, regardless of whether you are in person with your kids or not, is going to be so essential, because at any minute we could all go back to lockdown, or the teacher could be out, or a student could be out. And so building that foundation of technology and skills that the kids know how to get the information digitally, where to find things, how to learn on a 21st century 21st century platform.
School?
It's so pretty. I know. I have my time machine in my backyard.
I know, and to that point, I remember when I was in 11th grade, our AP US history teacher was on maternity leave for most of the spring, and we had a substitute that entire time, and it was a joke, and in an AP class, no less. And so I understand kind of where that's coming from, because like you said, substitute teachers in general are hard to come by, and why would they come back during a pandemic? Another thing that was kind of addressed on, which I want to go back to, is the topic of mental health, and what is being done from a mental health perspective for you guys, as well as addressing it with the students.
Well, I just read an email from our human resource director, Mark Holman, and there are some PD opportunities for teachers to deal with mental health issues during this COVID time. So they are forward-thinking administrators, and we have support systems in place, but obviously not enough support systems in place for our students. I will tell you that we do have an excellent counselor session. We have a great guidance department. We have social workers, and we have those things set up. But again, this is a taxing time, and those roles are going to be tried.
And it's going to be ongoing too, because with all of the strict restrictions in place, we're going to be asking students to basically stay within their own little bubble all day long. And that's not how they're used to school functioning. That's not how they want their school to function. And so trying to constantly be on top of them about keeping a mask on, or staying 6 feet away, or not being able to collaborate or talk to their friends, or even their lunch is going to look completely different. How do PE classes are going to look completely different. So there's so many components of being in brick and mortar that are going to add to the stress, because it's not what they want, how they're learning best, and what they're used to.
I would like to say something about the technology aspect that we have, and I am incredibly excited about this technology. I'm a tech geek, and our remote, what's the acronym?
ARA.
ARA.
We're going to be using MTR, Microsoft Teams Room.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So, yeah. Oh, geez, fingers crossed. So we'll have a camera on us. We'll be.
Is this what Justin Fleming was telling me about yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm excited about that, because what's unlike the spring, for the fall, we will deliver our classes live in person, and they can attend the classes at their scheduled class time from their home. So
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Um,
Better.
Is there anything else? And the only reason why I'm gonna, because I feel like we could do this for hours, but I have to end it now because I just got a message saying that my recording is going to end on Zoom in like 5 minutes or less than that. But I want to go around and just final thoughts from everyone. Kind of here we are a month out, and just if there's anything that we didn't discuss that you want to make sure that is important to get out there, to go around and just let it out.
I'll go. I'm really thinking of how I am going to change my teaching so that I teach a language, so I need kids to collaborate and to talk to each other. So, and if they're going to come into brick and mortar, I need it to be effective. So I've been working a lot with different technologies to try to change the way I teach so that kids can socially distance, but still be an effective person-to-person scenario. No shared materials, so textbooks are out the door because I don't have enough for everyone. There's a lot of things that are going to be different that I still have to wrap my head around.
I think
I think one thing that everybody has to remember is, Elena said, these are unprecedented times, and everybody's going to have patience and grace with each other. As much as I'd like to rail against the system and what is happening, it's not anybody's fault. And we are doing the best that we can at all times. Parents are doing the best that they can by their kids, and we're doing the best that we can by ourselves. Like, it's just not a time for us to start pointing fingers at each other, playing the blame game, and trying to, grace, understanding, conversations like we're having today, Matt. I appreciate it. So I think that's the big name of the game, I think, going forward.
I think the other important thing is going to be able to tag along what Rob was saying, is being able to transition, because there's going to be a time when we're going to be in the building. Then there might be like 2 or 3 weeks where we're not in the building. Then we're back in. So as teachers, I think we just have to hone in on our skills just to be able to make those transitions from back and forth, and keeping the kids motivated to continue those transitions.
Failing to plan means we will plan to fail. So I think that I'll segue there from Coach. And I will give you a little bit of a thing to think about. This has given me time to think about the impact that I've had as a teacher. And I see it as a different point of view, because I want to make sure that if I knew that Friday the 13th was the last day that I was going to see everybody, I might have done things differently. So I have a different perspective and a different outlook because of this, because I don't know when I'm going to see all of my friends and my students again live and in person. So for me, that's my takeaway from this.
I think for me is just recognizing how hard everybody is working, sort of what Rob was saying, whether it's a parent or a teacher, administrator, we're all really busting our butt to make sure that this works the best it can for the kids. And it's not, somebody's going to be disappointed in any aspect. I mean, there's always going to be things that didn't happen the way you wanted or thought it was going to. But again, if we can just cut each other a little slack from whatever perspective we're coming, and know that we're all really trying hard to make this work the absolute best that it can.
This was tremendous, I thought, and I am really, really appreciative and proud and all this other stuff. Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Charles, for setting this up. And I know this is going to air tomorrow evening and then Friday morning.